Welcome to another edition of Husker Huddle presented by Sapp Brothers, where they say, welcome, be our guest. Today we're very lucky to be joined by, entrepreneur, former Husker linebacker, and really just all-around amazing individual, Blake Lawrence. Blake, how are we doing, my friend?
Not too bad. That's a good intro, Jay.
Hey.
I'll take it.
Hey, man, I just speak the truth here at Husker Sports Network, man. We're excited to have you. It's been a while since we've been able to get caught up with you. Let's go back a little bit here and get caught up about your Husker career. 2007 to 2008. Got a little cut short because of concussions, but blessing in disguise, you've gone on to do amazing things since then. But now that you've had about 10 years now to really reflect back, what are some of your favorite moments from wearing the N on the side of your helmet?
Favorite moments. In 2008, my sophomore year, we played at K-State, and it was my first start at linebacker, and I was a captain that game. I grew up in Kansas City. I grew up going to Manhattan to watch K-State play. I would wear purple, and so there was a lot of emotion to have my very first start at Nebraska be in Kansas, in Manhattan, on the field that I used to go and sit in the stands and root against Nebraska. We won that game, and I think about that one. That was just in totality a great night. It was also, I had a concussion that night actually, but not fun. Yeah, not fun. But it's a little bit funny now. But yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, then probably many more, but that one sticks out as one I look back on. It wasn't as big of a deal then. There's other moments, but again, a decade later, that stood out.
Yeah, that's a fun one that you'll always remember. And we all have those now, a decade out. It's crazy to think that was that long ago that I actually got a chance to meet you. And what that then I did not know would then lead into a friendship that has now gone on for many years, but also a professional relationship where literally maybe even one story down from this studio that I'm sitting in, you founded and opened Open Doors in 2012, and you are now off and running with that. Kind of talk us back. Let's rewind to 2012 and talk about the creation of Open Doors and what sparked that and kind of where it's gone since then.
Yeah. So, thinking back again, a decade ago, my career was cut short. I had concussion issues. So in 2009, I was done playing ball. Audie Kanalik, kicker on the team, and folks remember old Audie, great kickoff specialist. We were best friends. And
hammer leg.
Yep. And so Audie and I, less than a year after I was done playing ball, Audie was still on the team. We started our first company, Heard That Social Media. It's based in Lincoln, and our office was also in that same building. So we were helping businesses manage their social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And then in 2011, Prince Amukamara got drafted first round NFL draft. And he gave us a call and said, hey, guys, can you help me out? I don't know. I know social media is important. I just need help on knowing what to say, when to say it, how to say it, so I look good. And so we started to work with Prince and realized really quickly whenever he said the right thing, right place, right time, it was like he was a magician. Every Husker fan and every Giants fan would click and watch videos and engage with them. The tough part is getting Prince to say the right thing, right place, right time was dang near impossible. So we built Open Doors. We built this tool that said, hey, Prince, you're going to get an alert to your phone. It's like an app, right? And if we have something that we want you to say, there's a green button or a red button. If you want to say it, hit the green button, and then the software will do the rest. And it was Prince-proof is what we called it, Jeremiah. I know you know those days too well. Yep. But it had to be easy and simple, lovable. So we gave it to Prince in 2013 is when we officially got the product going. And less than a month after we got Prince on board, the NFL Players Association called us and asked if they could use the tool for every player in the NFL. So since then, it's been this story of growth, story of not all growth, not all easy, not all rainbows and butterflies, but today, more than 13,000 athletes around the world, from Tiger Woods to Alex Morgan, Prince Amukamara, Jeremiah Searles, use Open Doors to look good and make money.
I mean, it's an awesome thing, and I'm glad you brought up the idea of social media. And just, I mean, even since 2013 to where it is now, the idea and social media has morphed so much more into such a driving factor in many athletes' lives, really in everyday life. Did you back then really assume that this was kind of the trajectory that social media was going? Or did you think that, I mean, we obviously haven't even hit the sky as the limit for social media, but with athletes specifically, did you really see the positives that this can do for an athlete in his brand image and in his post-career, whatever that might go to? Did you guys really view that, or just kind of learning and growing as social media was growing?
There's really two answers to that, Jeremiah. There's the objective and subjective, and I'll start with the objective side of this. Is, once we started to see what Prince said on his social channels, and we compare it to what we would push out on the social channels of Bryan Health Hospital, like those local businesses in Nebraska. And the engagement rate when Prince would say something would be 20 to 30 times higher than the local business. And so we started to track these trends and realize that, Prince, even compared to Nebraska's official accounts, when Prince said something, he would generate 10 to 20 times higher engagement. So the data doesn't lie, that when athletes say the right things online, it's one of the most powerful moments in sports or in sports marketing. It's really, they can change community, they can change consumer behavior, they can shift culture. And so that's an interesting point. But then there's the subjective side of this. Like, Jeremiah, when I was on the team in 2009, I was the first guy on the team using Twitter, right? And I had built up almost 1,000 followers by the time I was done, like my concussions into my career. Local media members, it was, folks that work right there in that building. And when I was done, I, had this audience that would follow me, right? That stayed with me for a lifetime. The people that hit follow in 2009 still follow me today, right? And that is something that no matter how big your audience is, athletes today can use social media to create this connection to a fan base that it used to just drop off. Like, if I didn't have social media and my career was over, then how would I stay connected to the Nebraska fans?
Right.
But now with social media, like, every athlete has the ability to build an audience that lasts them a lifetime. And so the moments they have on campus in Nebraska, they're starting to create these connections that those people do not leave them once their career is over. And so for us, and even my personal story, I got a direct message on Twitter in 2010 from Kevin Kugler asking if I wanted to come try out the show Big Red Wrap Up, and I became the co-host of the television show for 8 years. Our very first customer at our first business came through a social media connection. So today's athletes can use social media to create a connection to an audience that will last them a lifetime, and they can create opportunities that they just wouldn't have had otherwise. So the data's there, but also the stories are there time and time again to say that this matters a great deal in today's sports world, as well as the world of consumerism. People want to follow people they love and trust, and social media gives them that ability.
Absolutely, and I think that leads into a great next point that I want to bring up is the argument and or discussion that many people have now with the name, image, and likeness coming into play now. You and I have had numerous discussions about this. I mean, all the way from the NFL Combine to back here in Nebraska at Lead Bellies and just chatting. I mean, you are the expert, in my opinion, on name, image, likeness because you have been doing this for so long. What are some things that you guys have been doing that you could really see being beneficial to college players specifically when it comes to the social media part and name, image, likeness getting brought into college to get athletes some compensation while they're still playing?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've been fortunate to learn over the last near decade of helping professional athletes make money online is the nuances that go into managing those relationships and the complexities of the athlete endorsement market in pro sports. There are agents, managers, marketing reps, publicists, financial advisors, lawyers, attorneys, brothers, sisters, dogs, cats that all want to be a part of every single deal. And each one of those individuals have a desire to help. Most of the time, they slow things down. They hurt. And so what we built within Open Doors is that green button, gray button for Prince. Imagine that millions of dollars a year flow through Open Doors into the pockets of professional athletes that get an alert to their phone that says, "Hey, Jeremiah, you're going to get paid $1,000 if you hit this green button right here." And you hit the green button, you put your phone back in your pocket. It takes you a total of 5 seconds to capitalize on your NIL value. But behind the scenes, Open Doors is managing who is paying who to do what. There's a contract that's created, signed digitally, stored. It's, if you're an active member of the NFLPA, MLBPA, NBPA, USWNTPA, NHL, PJ Tour, LPGA, like all of that, then your information is then sent directly to those that need to be in the know, your agent, the union, the Players Association. So behind the scenes, there's an incredible amount of complexity. But to the athlete, it's a green button or a red button. And that's something that is going to be important for everyone to understand, that NIL rights in the college landscape, student-athlete endorsements, so they do not disrupt the current state of college sports and changes to the professional model. It has to be a low-touch, high-value operation with everything tracked to ensure that things are protected and compliant. So we're sharing that information of what we've learned with those that are looking to build the framework for the NIL monetization and student-athlete endorsements in 2021 and beyond. So more simply to those listening, this is a very good thing. Most athletes will make most of their money through social and digital media. So if you are not following your favorite athletes on your social digital channels, you should, because that is one of the best ways to contribute to what will turn into a great opportunity for them to capitalize and generate revenue while they're still on campus.
I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard the arguments. There's a lot of pushback to it, but I think obviously the benefits are going to outweigh some of the arguments. I mean, what are some of the arguments that you've ran into from people when you just have these discussions that kind of worry people of the whole amateurism status piece of, only professionals should get paid, these guys are still in school and amateurs? What are some of the arguments that you've run into over that?
Well, there's plenty of arguments, and I can test them out with you, but one of them, it's interesting, keeps popping up, is what's this going to do to the locker room? Are people going to start comparing how much money they make or this or that? And Jeremiah, that probably exists in some level with the pro space. But what's interesting is that athletes compare already. They could, like, if I walk in the weight room, Jeremiah, and I see that you've got 4 plates on your bench and I've got 3, or maybe even 2, if I'm being honest, and then I know you're stronger than me, right? And if I go to your social channel and I see you got twice as many followers, like, I know you're more popular than me, right? And so if you're stronger than me, you might be able to beat me in a one-on-one battle on the field, right? If you are more popular than me, you might make more money than me. So really, all it does is add one more factor that people are already comparing themselves to. Now there's just a dollar sign in front of it. But today's athletes, the competitive ones, they're always sizing themselves up to others. I think what this is going to create is actually more fairness in terms of who can generate value, because it has to be tied to NIL value. You may not be a starting quarterback, but you can leverage, build a YouTube channel or build up a presence on Instagram or Twitter and make more money than the starting quarterback, because that's what things will be tied to. Not your performance on the field, but what you do in terms of your brand building or your personal endorsement value. That's where the dollars are going to go to. So, I don't know. That's one of the things I like to talk about is the locker room thing. It already exists. This won't change that.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, it's such a great discussion to be had, and I know you share me in the same light as the fact that I'm glad we're finally having the discussion, because it seems like it's always been like a thing that was just like shunned. I remember when we were in school, it was like, you just don't do this just because. And now it's like, no, well, why? We're asking why, and I think that growth comes from why. Last question here on this before we move on. Do you think that it needs to be handled state-by-state basis, or do you think this is something the NCAA is going to have to throw a giant blanket over the entire place and just be like, this is what we're doing, deal with it, move on?
Well, what is unique about college sports is that Nebraska plays Iowa, and we play Minnesota, and you play Michigan, you play Ohio. Like, you're playing in other states.
Right.
And so if the student athletes you're playing against are governed by different rules than you're playing with them, then there creates these disadvantages in terms of recruiting. So the recruiting aspect of college sports is the one thing that makes it very, very challenging to have state-by-state rules that could impact the recruiting landscape. So if something's allowed in California that isn't allowed in Nebraska, and you're a student athlete that can go to one state and earn more than if you went to another state, in all things else being equal, the states that are at a disadvantage of those that don't have the same rules that are as flexible as the most flexible state. So there will be a rule. There'll be federal guidelines that provides oversight into how name, image, likeness rights are monetized on college campuses across the country. I have no doubt in that. And but the efforts by each state to push a bill forward, I know Megan Hunt and the crew in Nebraska,
Yep.
you know, that only pushes this argument further down the line. So even though those individual state bills may not ever become the law that governs NIL, it got us to this point, and that's the most important.
Absolutely. I'm excited to follow this more with you, Blake, and have more discussions with you. Before we get out of here, we got to chat just one quick thing. Husker football, year 3, Scott Frost. You've been out of it like a decade now, but I know you bleed Husker red. You've been back here for a while, and you live big city living now up in New York. You don't forget about us small guys here back in Nebraska. But what are you excited for this season coming up as a fan's perspective and looking at this program for Scott and company?
Yeah, I would say that over this offseason, we made this big announcement a couple months ago about the Nebraska Ready Now program around NIL. And so it's been fun to kind of be closer to the program, understand that Scott Frost and crew and Bill Moose, they're doing everything they can to give an advantage to bring Nebraska the type of attention that they deserve and the types of recruits that are going to turn the thing around. And year 3 under a new coach is an interesting one. And year 3 under Bo, you know, Nebraska was a top 10 team most of the year. Even year 2 under Bo, we were the number 1 defense in the country. So I just know that the year 1 to 3, you are used to this program. You know how these things go, right? And you were part of that. You were year 3, right? Under Bo?
I was, yep.
Yeah. So you walked into a program where all of us spoke the same language. But year 1 under Bo, there was still the half-seat, right? Some were Callahan guys, some were Bo guys. But year 3 is when you have the majority. Some that have some taste of the old, but the majority of the team knows the new system. I think that's going to bode well for Nebraska this year. And to be determined how many games we play and what the heck happens in the COVID environment. But in general, right guy, right program, and right momentum. We just got to get to the games and win the ones that we've let slip away over the last few years. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Blake, we thank you so much for being here on Husker Huddle, presented by Sapp Brothers. At Sapp Brothers, the top priority is to keep guests and teammates safe. Sapp Brothers is offering full service at the pump as our nation relies now more than ever on drivers and farmers to provide essentials to our communities. Sapp Brothers is committed to serving you. Blake, super excited that you joined us here. Everyone, if you're not following Blake, follow him on Twitter. He's got some awesome stuff on name, image, likeness, some awesome stuff on Open Doors and what they're doing to continue with social media brand and development there for players. And Blake, when you get back in town, we'll have to go grab a beer sometime and hang out, my friend.
We'll do that. And Jeremiah, I got to tell everyone listening and watching, know that Jeremiah was employee number 2 or 3.
I was 1. Yeah. I was employee number 1. No, I guess you were technically number 1. So I was 2. I was 2.
But Jeremiah was there when Open Doors was an idea in the back of a napkin. So proud of you, man. Thankful for the opportunity to share the story. But, yeah, we'll have that beer next time I'm in town.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it, Blake. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, brother.